What if the biggest financial win of your life happened so quietly that even you almost missed it? Not a lottery ticket, not a Ferrari in the driveway. Real freedom rarely announces itself. It just shows up one ordinary morning, disguised as nothing at all. Stick around, because by the end of this video you'll know exactly what that morning looks like and how close you might be to it. Most people think the rat race is just a job they don't love. It's actually something narrower, working purely to keep up with bills that never stop arriving. Rent goes out, the paycheck comes in, and it's already spoken for. Picture someone finishing a 9-to-5 shift, checking a bank balance in the parking lot, and doing quick math before the next paycheck lands. That's not bad planning. It's the system working exactly as designed. Time gets traded for dollars over and over, with no finish line in sight. The scary part isn't the grind. It's how normal it starts to feel after a few years. So the real question isn't whether you're in the race. Almost everyone starts there. The question is what the exit looks like and whether you'd recognize it if you were already standing in it. There's a specific point where everything shifts, and it has nothing to do with a bank balance most people would call impressive. It's the moment when investments, not a job, start covering the bills. Rent, groceries, the electric bill, paid by money that was already working before the sun came up. Financial planners have a name for this: financial independence. Not because someone owns a fortune, but because their paycheck has become optional instead of required. A grocery store cashier and a corporate manager can both reach this point at very different income levels, since it was never really about how much you earn. What changes isn't the size of the number. What changes is the relationship between the person and their job. Work stops being oxygen and starts being a choice. That single shift rewires almost everything that follows. Here's what trips people up. Reaching this point doesn't mean walking off the job the next day. Plenty of newly free people show up to work Monday morning exactly like before. The difference is invisible from the outside but massive on the inside. They're choosing to be there. Think about the gap between a chore you have to do and one you'd do anyway, just without the pressure hanging over it. Same task, completely different weight on your shoulders. That's the shift happening here, except it's applied to an entire career instead of one afternoon. A boss can't hold a paycheck over someone's head if that person doesn't actually need the paycheck. That single fact changes how meetings feel, how criticism lands, and how far someone is willing to bend just to keep a job they no longer depend on. Walk past this person on the street and you'd learn nothing. Same house, same car with a few too many miles on it. Same order at the same coffee shop every morning before work. There's no neon sign that reads, "Financially free," hovering over anyone's head. Someone could be standing next to this person in a grocery store checkout line and have no idea they're looking at someone who no longer needs their paycheck to survive. The milestone doesn't come with a costume change. This is exactly why so many people misunderstand what they're chasing. They assume the finish line will look different from everything around it, bigger, shinier, unmistakable. In reality, the outside stays almost exactly the same. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If freedom doesn't change how you look, why do so many people spend their whole lives chasing the look instead of the freedom? Scroll through social media and you'll see plenty of loud proof of success: new cars and driveways, vacation photos with location tags, unboxing videos of the latest phone. None of that is coming from the person we're describing. They're not posting proof because there's no urge to prove anything. Real financial security doesn't ask for an audience. It doesn't need 40 comments confirming it's real. That absence says something louder than any post could. The loudest displays of wealth are usually financed, leased, or borrowed against, a performance aimed outward. Genuine freedom tends to face inward instead, measured by how someone sleeps at night, not by how many people saw the vacation photos. So maybe the real flex was never a flex at all. Maybe it was silence and everyone just missed it. There's a difference between buying a thing and buying your own time back, and almost nobody explains it that clearly. A leased luxury car buys attention. A fully funded investment account buys the ability to say no to a job that makes you miserable. Napoleon Hill's classic message in Think and Grow Rich boils down to this: wealth starts as a mindset before it ever becomes a number in an account. People chasing status are optimizing for how a life looks from a stranger's phone screen. People chasing freedom are optimizing for what their own Tuesday morning actually feels like. One of those goals runs out the moment the applause stops. The other one keeps paying dividends whether anyone's watching or not. Status has a shelf life. Freedom, once it's built, just sits there quietly compounding. No audience required, no expiration date attached. Forget the bank account for a second. The most dramatic change happens somewhere nobody can photograph, inside someone's head. Ask a genuinely free person what's different, and they rarely mention a number. They mention sleep. They mention not lying awake doing math about a surprise car repair. They mention walking into a performance review without a knot in their stomach, because a bad review can't evict them. Decisions that used to feel like life or death negotiations start feeling like simple choices instead. This isn't confidence borrowed from a motivational quote. It's confidence built from math that actually checks out, and it doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It shows up as a strange, almost boring calm on an otherwise ordinary Wednesday, which is precisely the kind of change most people never think to look for. Theory is nice, but here's what this actually looks like on a random afternoon. A manager crosses a line, and instead of swallowing it, someone calmly says they're done. No backup plan required, because the backup plan already exists. Or picture a full year taken off, not to panic search for a new job, but simply to breathe, travel, or sit with family without a clock ticking in the background. Or someone turning down a high-paying project because it's dull, in favor of one that actually excites them. Income be damned. None of these moments require a mansion or a private jet. They require options, and options are exactly what money well handled eventually buys. Not champagne, not applause, just the freedom to choose differently than everyone else clocking in at 9. Now flip the picture entirely. Picture a 5-bedroom house with a mortgage payment due on the 1st of every month, a leased SUV in the driveway, and a closet full of clothes still being paid off in installments. From the street, this looks like success. Underneath, it's often a monthly balancing act, one missed paycheck away from serious trouble. The lifestyle isn't owned. It's rented in disguise, propped up by debt that has to be fed every single month without fail. This isn't a judgment on anyone's choices. It's a simple observation. Appearance and financial reality are two completely separate categories, and society has trained most people to assume they're the same thing. They almost never are, and confusing the two is exactly how so many smart, hardworking people end up stuck. Put these two people side by side, and something uncomfortable becomes obvious. One drives a leased luxury car, posts vacation photos, and privately loses sleep over the mortgage. The other drives a paid-off sedan with a dent in the bumper and sleeps just fine. By every visible measure, the first person looks like they've made it. By every measure that actually matters, the second person already has. Working more isn't the answer here, and that's probably not what anyone wants to hear. The answer was never about earning more, it was about owing less. This is the paradox hiding in plain sight. The person who looks free might be the most trapped person in the room, and the person who looks ordinary might be the only one who's actually escaped. So how does someone actually end up on the free side of that paradox? Not through a lucky stock pick or a surprise inheritance. Through habits so plain they barely sound worth mentioning. Spend less than you bring in. Invest the difference on a regular schedule, whether the market is up or having a rough month. Resist the urge to upgrade every time a raise shows up. That's the trap that keeps people running in place no matter how much they earn. Think in years and decades, not in the next paycheck. None of this requires a finance degree or insider knowledge. A nurse and an accountant can follow the exact same 4 habits and land in the exact same place. This was never a game reserved for people who are naturally gifted with numbers. It's a game built entirely on repetition. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. This doesn't happen in a year, and it definitely doesn't happen in a month. It's usually the quiet output of 10, 20, or 30 years of the exact same boring habits repeated on a loop. There's no shortcut hiding somewhere, no secret account only insiders know about. A construction worker who started investing a small amount every month at 25 will likely end up further ahead than a high earner who started at 45 with nothing saved. Time does more of the heavy lifting than income ever will. This is exactly why so many people quit halfway through. The results stay invisible for years before they suddenly aren't. Anyone expecting fireworks in year 2 is playing an entirely different game than the one that actually pays off. Somewhere along the way, plenty of people quietly switch goals without noticing. They stop trying to build freedom and start trying to look successful instead. And those two things pull in completely different directions. A comment section full of praise feels good for about 10 seconds. It doesn't cover a mortgage payment, and it definitely doesn't fund a retirement account. Chasing approval is expensive in ways that don't show up on a receipt. New car, new watch, new vacation, all bought to keep an image alive that was never the actual goal. Real independence doesn't care whether anyone claps for it. It just sits there, quietly working, whether or not a single person ever notices it exists. That's the trade worth making. The goal was never to impress the neighbors, and it was never about a follower count either. It was always about building a life where you, and only you, decide how your hours get spent. Not your boss, not your bills, you. Picture an ordinary morning. Coffee brewing, a slow scroll through the news, no alarm dictating the pace, no dread sitting in the pit of your stomach before you've even opened your eyes. Work still might happen that day, but now it's a choice, not a demand pressing down on your chest. Nobody watching that morning would know anything unusual just happened. The car in the driveway hasn't changed. The house looks the same as it did last year. But for the person living it, that quiet, unremarkable Tuesday is the biggest win of their entire life, and they wouldn't trade it for anyone's applause. If videos like this help you think differently about money and freedom, follow the channel. There's a lot more of this coming every week. Now here's the part I actually want to know. If work became optional for you tomorrow, no financial pressure, no boss to answer to, what would you actually do with that time? Travel? More time with family? Finally start that thing you've talked about for years? And sit with this one for a second. If nobody could tell you'd made it, would you still want it?